Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast all about video games and craft beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben. It's episode 419. I'm here with Aadil.
Hey!
And Lucy.
Ooh, 420 is upon us.
Oh, mate, we blaze it up next week.
Yep.
Yeah. Didn't think of that.
I haven't even got any contacts anymore. I wouldn't even know where to just walk around the streets like, excuse me, sir, do you have any weed?
I could probably get you some in Bristol.
You'll be like, you're a cop.
Yeah.
I could probably get you some in Bristol. I can get nothing. I know no one who has confessed to partaking in the evil plant on this side of the country.
Yeah, fair. I just go to the corner
that's...
end of my road and it stinks of weed, so I just go and knock on some doors, I suppose, couldn't I? Definitely a cop then. Cool. Let's open some beers. I think, Lucy, you're freezing a little bit.
Yeah, because you guys were freezing for me.
Okay.
The joy.
Just so everyone on the video version knows, she's not holding a pose for
I'm not
an
holding
indefinite amount of time.
Why isn't weed legalised in this country pose? Yeah.
Just in your
And
brain.
then the camera's gone off.
It has. Adil, why don't you start us off with a beer whilst Lucy has some technical things?
I'm having a beer from our friends at Mikeller, who I haven't had in donkey's years. And it is their Octoberpretzel. Oh, we've lost Lucy entirely. Which means the...
Stream will look fucked.
Yeah, really will. You've got a shoulder in one frame. We've got two faces. It's fine.
Two faces.
The Octoberpretzel Martson Lager from Mikeller for Oktoberfest. And it is a 5.8%. And that's all we get. Yes, I forgot that Mikeller. Okay. But it does have this amazing, weirdly criminal-looking
nice
Mikeller pretzel man.
Nice.
5.8% lager's an interesting prospect. I've been in the UK for too long. We rarely get higher ABV lagers here.
Yeah, you do find they're about sort of 5% or lower, really.
Shit!
They might just creep over that 5%. Has it exploded everywhere? Yes, it's exploded everywhere.
Yes.
Okay.
Lucy's back.
While you're back, Lucy, what are you drinking?
Yeah. I suspect it's something to do with the Kinect because the camera's like, oh, we don't support this USB you last plugged in. It's like, so I might have to download an update if they're still pushing out updates for the Kinect. I told you it was Windows 11 that forced itself upon me in a way that I should call the police because it's assault. But I'm drinking a beer from Mash Gang who got acquired. Well, they announced that they got acquired. Was it yesterday or the day before?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Acquired by whom?
God, what are they called?
Not big beer company number one or something.
I've never heard of them. But there was very much a kind of mea culpa downplaying things posts on Instagram. So Diony Life.
Oh yeah, that well-known company.
So clearly not a indie small brewery acquiring another one. This sounds like
that's the thing I didn't know because I haven't looked into it too much because I was trying to be like, who's the Diony Life? Because apparently because I was looking at like Diony Life or whatever, and it was like, oh, they've only just set up or they've only just launched in the US and the UK. So I was trying to do more digging, but I was like, who are they? But from what I've seen on Twitter and Instagram, it was from the kind of we're getting out here to be like, they were like, oh, our plan, our vision was always to be massive. It was always to be, the biggest thing in alcohol free. the way that they were wording it, it sounded like it wasn't like, oh, let's just. Well, it was kind of like this was our end goal, but we also just want to keep paying staff and stuff like that because our goalpost shifted. So it was very strange. Because I don't know how big this company are who acquired them and what their history is and stuff like that. But yeah, it was very much a let's get out in front of the people and explain. Like, this was always our plan. We'll stay punk and indie, but this was always our plan. So I don't know at this juncture. Maybe it'll be something to discuss next week once I dig more. But yes, the news is very fresh and hot, and I haven't been able to find out much on like Dione Life or whatever they're called.
No, I had a quick look at Company's House, and they formed in June of this year. There's a couple of directors. They're based in Exeter. That's pretty much all Company's House will do, unless I sign in, and I don't want to do that. And I can't find much else online about them. As you say, the Mash Gang Instagram post says almost nothing.
Says a lot and says nothing at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
They do say sort of ask questions in the in the post below, but lots of the questions aren't about the the acquisition itself.
Yeah,
it's just lots of other stuff.
More like, this is what we planned, and not like who is actually.
So, I'm looking at a PR Newswire article from September 10th on Dione Life. Former Diageo and Stoli Group executives join forces to bring unprecedented choice and flavor to non-alcoholic beverage market. Announce acquisition of Mash Gang. So these are two executives of very big alcohol.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it does seem like Dione Life is premised on non-alcoholic. And so this is probably this looks like this might be their first major like acquisition to actually have a product.
Fair.
We'll see how it goes, but yeah, like I don't usually see. Well, I don't. Maybe it's because I don't really seek them out so much, but I don't usually see, because people say like, "Oh, there's a lot of Mash Gang around there," and I just don't see it. But maybe because I'm tunnel visioned and I'm not looking for that. But when I went to the beer, one in Sturchley recently, as of yesterday, I found a beer called Delulu. Great name.
Nice.
It's a non-alcoholic tropical IPA, 0.5%, because I don't think you can say absolutely alcohol-free. Yes, you're not. Flavor text is we wanted the ultimate summer party IPA, and think we have done it. Nectar and Superdelic hops. Have you come across Superdelic?
No, I haven't even.
No, but interestingly,
Delic.
It's in the beer I'm drinking as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Are you also drinking a non-alcoholic?
No.
No, only one of us can do that a week, otherwise it would be
Per week,
irresponsible of us, yeah. But Nectar and Superdelic hops with a smidge of Nelson Sauvin and a whole heap of tropical fruit juice to bring tiki bar vibes to your mouth. Pairs well with suspiciously burnt barbecue foods and the smell of pool inflatables. So yeah, very much going for that tropical vibe.
Nice, cool. Well, it leads into my beer. This is a left-handed giant and queer brewing collaboration beer called Throwing Toads, which is a hazy IPA, 6.5%. This says the hazy IPA with Superdelic, Citra, and Motueka, brewed in collaboration with our good friends at Queer Brewing, who've been making queer beers and beer queer since 2019. A super pale base with plenty of jumbo and naked oats for a full and fluffy texture. Expect high hits of mango, lime, and honeydew melon with pops of tart red berry. Toads, and more toads. I have no idea what the toads are about. They don't look like very nice toads. They're kind of a mixture of styles of toads.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So one of them looks almost like the Hypnotoad from Futurama.
Yeah.
The other one looks like the toad that became an alt-right symbol.
Yep, that's the alt-right kind of toad. We've got one that's like in the left-handed giant style,
Almost like a
Almost,
Kermit
and
the
then-
Frog, actually.
This fucking fella.
Yeah. Weird.
I did not
There
see
you go.
that, but yes, Hypnotoad, absolutely. I changed my profile picture on WhatsApp to Hedonism Bot.
Oh. Yes.
Yeah!
There we go.
Drink of my grass.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's roll back around. Aadil, has the Mikeller settled?
Yeah, I haven't topped it up, but it poured. Obviously, it overflowed, but it poured with a reasonably sort of 2 fingers of head that took a while to dissipate. It's got a lovely honey-ish nose to it. I mean, it's also for a lager quite orange.
Yeah. Amberish looks like.
Yeah,
it,
and like I said, it's got also a meaty undertone to that nose. So it still has a crisp sort of lagery note, but it's got this like sweetness as well. Yeah, I would say it's it's again still like a crisp lager with some sweetness. It's got a bit of a lingering finish you wouldn't normally expect from a lager. Trying to track what it is. Also leaves you a bit dry, which is unfortunate, because one of the things I like about lagers is they're for better or worse, depending on the day, they're quite thirst quenching. Mm-hmm. And this feels
sorry, Aadil,
like...
I was faffing with my camera. Who was
This is
brewery?
Mikeller's Octoberpretzel lager.
Okay. Oh, okay. I like that.
So it's a Martson lager, and I don't know enough about what that is, to be honest, what a Martson lager is. And I can't search without ruining things, since Discord and OBS now don't play nicely when you alt-tab away. But yeah, it's quite good. Like I said, I'm a little disappointed. Maybe once I get used to it, it'll feel less drying.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Munich malt fruit character, dark cherry-like.
Okay.
To dates, dried figs, autumn honey, malted milk, malt
Honey,
balls.
yeah, okay. Yeah, it's quite a malty lager. I'm just new to the variety, so I wasn't expecting it. So I think I'll probably just, I know Ben has a lot to talk about anyway, so I'll leave it there, and then maybe if I have anything new and interesting to say once I'm sort of further in, I might take a moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
Cool.
takeaways are very malty, bready flavour and a dry finish. So,
Yes.
yeah.
So it is exactly what I thought, except I don't think
Absolutely.
I
Good
said
palate,
quite as strongly how malty it was.
Fair.
Grant.
Good. Lucy, the Mash Gang.
Yeah,
Was it Delulu? It was called.
yeah, Delulu.
Right.
It's got a decent smell on it. Definitely getting across those tropical notes. Bit of mango, bit of pineapple. Yeah, so it smells the part. Still retaining a slight bit of head, and there's a lot of carbonation.
It's quite clear.
It's what I find with some not alcohol-free beers, where it's it looks very it's opaque, but it hasn't got that hazy look that normal beers have. But no, it's you can somewhat see through it, but I'd say it's more on the opaque side than translucent.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, the aroma's good. Right. The initial taste is yes, you are getting those tropical fruit notes, but it's the aftertaste where it's ooh. Because I was at a beer tasting yesterday for Attic, and they were like, "We're so sorry, but it's an alcohol-free beer that we want you to have today." And I was like, "Don't worry, I just bought some alcohol-free beers earlier." And the thing that I liked about that, it didn't exactly evoke the Hellas style in all its aspects, but what I liked about that is that it didn't have a sweetness at the end. Because I find with a lot of these alcohol-free beers, they're trying to chase those fruity notes of an IPA or, or of a pale or something like that, or a West Coast IPA, maybe less so because that's more bitter on the finish. And they're just not getting it. I think a lot of that comes from the alcohol content.
Yeah.
And this is, it has that artificial kind of sweetness at the end.
Right.
Like the Helles that I had yesterday, it had more of a... It had a slight sweet finish to it, but I don't think it was chasing that. So it didn't have that, like, either metallic or artificial sweet finish to it. Whereas this does. And I don't like that. It's like... I'd prefer the style to be like the Wiper and True or something like that we had, Aadil, at the festival when we took the cans away. I'd prefer a style like a lager or a Helles, where it's like, we're not trying to attain that sweet finish or that sweet body. We're leaning more into like the maltiness and the bitterness, because this is just, the aroma's very nice. It works very well in the aroma, but for me, the aftertaste of that kind of like almost artificial sweetness is just not doing it for me.
Yeah, fair.
It's refreshing because it's got a decent amount of carbonation. And yeah, you are tasting that Nelson Sauvin, but not in that nice kind of vinous, still alcoholic kind of sense where you're getting that, this tastes like a slight rosé and, white wine in the body or something like that. You're getting the finish of like a sweet rosé, and it's like, ugh.
Right. It's just not getting,
a sweet,
it's not
cheap
tempered.
rosé. Yeah. Where
Portuguese red wine.
we don't speak about red wine. But yeah, just like, you're getting that, this is a cheap rosé and it's giving me that sweetness on the end just as a tick because I don't like dry white wine, so I went for a rosé. And that's what this is giving me. Whereas like Nelson Sauvin, like in alcoholic beers, it's giving you that nice vinous quality that you might get in like a barley wine, and it's still retaining that kind of like beer quality, but it's just those like kind of grassy herbal notes in it though. And this is just like cheap alcohol-free rosé. It's just like not what I'm here for. No, not really any bitterness. So yeah, I think the key to alcohol-free is like maybe staying with those kind of styles, like where you're not chasing that body, like that substantial body or that substantial sweetness in like an IPA. But I'm gonna say it's refreshing enough.
Yeah, cool. Nice. My experience of Superdelic as a hop is going to be quite different to yours, Lucy, this evening, because this is very hazy, as you would expect from Left-Handed Giants. The nose is light, not a big nose on it at all, but a little bit of sort of tropical fruit, a little bit of mango that you're getting on the nose. Don't get much of the other flavours, at least that they mention, kind of in the flavour text of the beer, on the nose, and in the taste itself. Those flavours merge together really, really nicely. Like, you can just pick out the mango that's on the nose. There's that little touch of lime in there. Not big, not zesty, not sort of souring at all. There's just a little creep of it. As if, the way that kind of, if you drink something like lemonade and then you have like a Sprite afterwards, which has got that like little bit of hint of lime in it, you can just taste the difference because that lime is giving you just that little bit of citrus rather than a big kind of zesty sort of hit. So feeling that, but it's got a lovely mouthfeel to it. This is a very, very smooth beer. A little bit of carbonation, but not much to it. And it's got a hint of bitterness towards the end. That's maybe a little bit of that lime that's kind of coming in. They mention a tart red berry, but I'm not getting a huge amount of that.
I was going to ask you about that.
Maybe it will come more as I'm drinking. I mean, I'm already nearly through a glass of it, but I'm not getting a huge amount of that. And I think it's because the flavour, I'm kind of only just able to pick out some of the notes that they have mentioned. I think had I not have been told that it had lime in it, I think mango would almost be the only thing I'm able to sort of pick out, because everything else kind of just blends very nicely together to give me just a lovely flavoured beer. Just one that's very hard to pick out those individual parts of it, for me at least. So yeah, I mean, if this is what toads taste like, great. Toads,
You're just
toads,
gonna start
absolutely.
licking them. Wasn't that like a Simpsons thing? And he
Definitely
like,
was. Yes.
A mercenary or something like that. I can't remember. It's like licking toads in like the depths of the Congo or something.
God, I don't remember. There's the one.
Yeah, I think that was
one
one
where
of
he
them.
brings the toad comes back from Australia as well on the plane.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, it was a bullfrog
That was-
or something maybe, or just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
an invasive species or something.
Completely, yeah.
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 It all comes back to The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Let's move away from beers and The Simpsons and talk about some games for this evening. As we did we mention it at the top? We mentioned it before we went live. I've got several games to talk about. Lucy, I know you've got something to talk about as well, but maybe I'll just touch
briefly.
on the things that I've only briefly kind of dabbled with. That I might talk about kind of in the future, but maybe not a huge amount more. I tried the Wilmot Works It Out demo. That was fun. Yeah,
Nice.
I enjoyed that
I'm
very
looking
much.
forward to that.
Putting the puzzles together and stuff. I liked the kind of piecemeal delivery of those puzzle pieces, because it's like, here's like 6 puzzle pieces. I'm like, well, I've only used 4 for a puzzle and I've just got 2, and then instantly the door knocks and the post lady is there and she's like, here's the next bit. You're like, cool.
Nice.
The rest of this puzzle is in here somewhere.
Yeah.
I see what they're doing. Amazing. So yeah, I really liked that.
I love the lore. How he's just like, chilling out from his corporate job. Corporate in like, oh, the corporates are shitting on him because he's like a skivvy at the bottom doing, factory work. Yeah, I love that I just want him to break free and, just do
Maybe this
puzzles
is
for the
it.
rest of his
Exactly.
life. And
Yeah.
follow his passion. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
more
I do
interested in the lore.
Well, I do like that there's that little bit. Is it the post lady sort of starts to mention her sister and stuff like this as well?
yeah.
So it's like, there's like 2 characters
Yeah.
in this game. And there's already this kind of like dialogue and this subplot that's going on as well.
I just
kind of
want
within
Wilmot to find happiness. That's
Yeah.
if he does, then I can die a happy woman.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hot off the presses, I believe. I can't remember. I don't know when it was released. But I have been playing a game called Fantasy Map Simulator.
Sounds like the Venice game.
Well, it's basically a not unlike an auto-play strategy game, but essentially it is just a 2D map view of a world, a completely made-up world, with its own countries, and those countries all have different like, stats, so they could be like republics or empires or alliances or tribal countries. They then have different sort of motivations, so some could be commercial, some could be agricultural, and you can just sit there basically and allow the time to just pass and the world to just evolve basically. Or
like an
you
idle
can
game?
dabble a little bit and you can be like, cool, actually I want this country, this state to form an alliance with this one, or I want them to be at war with this one, and you can be like, cool, I'm going to like role play as this country and I'm going to make decisions for them and just allow the rest of the world to kind of evolve around me and stuff like that. So it's very chill. There's no
it's,
big
it's
stakes
like an
to
idle
it.
game, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a demake of what is it, Crusader Kings?
It is
Yeah.
almost a demake of Crusader Kings. Yes, absolutely. You're not getting that much into the intrigue of it, the politics of it, the kind of like area and town sort of management and building buildings and things. You're just like kind of space view down onto a living kind of map.
This looks
And it's just
incredible.
Yeah, it
it's
looks
just
really
intriguing
cool.
to watch how the world kind of plays out. I've only played 40 minutes of it. and I've probably played 3 different maps so far.
So it's quite
I just
quick.
kind of watched. I haven't got to an end of any point of them. I've just gone, okay, I've seen this one. I want to see what happens on another one, and start to dabble in kind of one of the states and see kind of what happens when I'm doing that. And there's, you can make a state. There are actions that you can make that state kind of do, whether it's attacking another state, whether you say that you want them to expand, so they might sort of look at the other ones that they can kind of attack and move into. You can do truces, alliances. You can actually there's a place army button, so if you want to kind of cheat a little bit, you can start placing armies down to essentially be like, attack this country, put a load of armies down, and they'll just kind of like sweep through, basically.
Yeah, 'cause the Kingdom of Belgium is looking a bit too big in this screenshot. Yeah, I need to go colonise them.
Yeah, it's interesting. It brings in some real world kind of countries and elements as well, and you can pick like Western society or Eastern society to form the sort of the names of places and that sort of thing. I don't know whether you can do like a world map necessarily, but one of the very, very cool things about it is you have multiple different like themes and aesthetics for the map as well. So you can set like the map style, you can set like the transparency of the colours of countries. You could have like a map which is just like pink, purple, blue, red, different colours of different countries on a brown kind of paper parchment map sort of thing, or with the sea there. You can then set and show terrain rather than it just being a solid colour. You can set the opacity of those colours as well. So you can play with this and make it look...
Is anything in the simulation like, I don't know, this is a very mountainous country, we couldn't colonise them because Hadrian's Wall there.
I don't know. I don't know how deep it goes in that sort of sense. Whether it's a 3D sort of thing or whether it's just a flat kind of plane. Yeah. But you can. There's like a map editor and things as well, so you could play around with that a little bit actually and be like, cool, I'm just going to set a one island and I'm just going to put a mountain range through the middle. And then see how difficult that might actually be.
This is really cool, like, because like the thought of like Crusader Kings, especially how much you enjoyed it, like it was something that I was interested in, like especially because it was on Game Pass. But then get into it, I was like, oh my god, there's so much reading.
Fucking is.
I just want to be the sire to a lunatic who kills like the whole of Persia or something like that. You know what I mean? And then marry me or something like that.
I remember Adam when we were all playing it back in whatever it was 2020 2021 and Adam went through a campaign where he essentially became like a cannibal.
I editing
imprinted
his
that upon
it.
his family and stuff like that. Yes.
And I was just entranced by, wait, what happened? What is the timeline of all this? Yeah, just fascinating.
But Crusader Kings 3 is bringing out a new update where you don't actually have to be a leader. You can be like a wandering person going through, like just influencing countries, trying to get into courts and things like that. I mean, you might be able to. You could probably walk around spreading some kind of new religion and stuff. I don't know if you can walk on water and do all that sort of.
Fish and
just leprosy,
bread.
spreading leprosy around the fucking world. Just not something you can do in Fantasy Map Simulator yet. I don't think there's not.
But that's what I like about it. It's pared back and it's like it's an idle game. It's like I don't really have to read too much into it. I can just see how things play out, and that's fascinating. I put it on my wish list.
Yeah, I've already put it on mine as well.
Yeah. Another game I've just dabbled a little bit in. Again, I've only played half an hour of it so far. It's a game which is in early access, and I got a preview code for it called Whispers of the Eyeless. But it's almost like a Darkest Dungeon style. What would you call it? Like adventure game, I suppose. But unlike Darkest Dungeon, where you are making, or you have a group of several characters and you mix those characters up depending on the kind of style that you want to play, and then you're moving through the world and doing stuff. Whispers of the Eyeless, you're one character, but you are ultimately building a cult after infiltrating a city, and then kind of changing the city to your own sort of means. And there's various different builds for the character that you can kind of, go through. Whether you want to do like different kinds of like attack styles and things like that. Like it feels like it's got like a bunch of RPG kind of elements to it as well. That it's not like, I wouldn't call like Darkest Dungeon necessarily, or Darkest Dungeon 2 an RPG, although it's got a few RPG elements to it. You've got a set character, and that is the class that they are, and you can kind of pick a few of the attacks that they have out of the range of, you pick 4 out of the 8 that they have. Whisper of the Eyeless looks a little bit more into the kind of
strategy
RPG strategy element to it. So actually having and changing up builds to character, the character that you are and things, and you've got a lot more kind of like loot-based stuff. So you pick up different weapons, pick up different armors, and things like that as well. So it's got a little bit of that RPG build to it, while still trying to be quite I'd say like a tight kind of strategy adventure game, almost. My only issue with it so far is that there's a lot going on. So the intro to the game is nice and quick, nice and easy, takes you through a couple of screens, you go into a bit of a combat, you understand how that kind of works, you pick some abilities and you move through. And suddenly you're then presented with the whole, like, you've got into the city and you're now going to establish a cult, and within your base you can do these 10 things, and these 10 things can do these 10 things, and these 10 things can then do these 10 things. I'm just like suddenly overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that is kind of within this game. And I can see why they want to introduce that early, because it is the bulk of what you're looking to do. But it felt quite overwhelming, ultimately.
I mean, this is one of the problems with progression trees, is actually, like, I remember when I started Civ 5 or 6 for the first time, and like looked into the tree, and I was just like, because our like game of Civ takes so long, and you won't even know what good stuff is until you experiment, unless you like go online and say, do research, etc. But I like the fact that you have to learn in some sense, but like the trees it discouraged me from like going back right away, because it felt too overwhelming. There's just knowing how much stuff I'd have to figure out, even though that's one of the reasons I like these types of games, was just like a weird stop. So that'd be an interesting thing to put in feedback, maybe, of like, I think you're right, especially in early access, you want to show how big the tree is, right? To show this is the bulk of the game. But once the game is sort of a known quantity and people know what they're getting into, actually hiding some of that progression so it's easier to parse in the earlier levels. So like you only see 2 or 3 levels deep or something like that. I think is an underrated approach to these things. Because once you've played it a few times, you know what's coming anyway. It doesn't matter whether like it gets revealed or not. Like you sort of know your path through the tree. But those first few times actually can make or break a return. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminded me, I don't know if any of you played a game called The Shrouded Isle, which is from a few years ago now, 2020, 2021.
Did you talk about
2019 maybe? I may have done.
The name rings a vague bell, but that's
again another strategy game, like Lovecraftian strategy game, where you are like I think you're a priest, and you're in that game trying to basically it's almost the opposite of that you're trying to purify the town of like the Lovecraftian style denigration of the place, like whereas Whispers of the Eyeless is almost the opposite of that. It's much more sort of like, no, we are here to revive a dead god and essentially like burn the fucking place down. You are the baddies, absolutely. Which I think is a nice take on it. You're kind of actually trying to corrupt this place and try and be as devious and stuff as possible, and be as brutal in combat as you want. And some of the stuff is quite cool in terms of the abilities. So you can, I think, is it called like, I can't remember the names, but one of them's like beast mode, basically. And actually, like, the attack is like you would like bite someone and shit like that. So it delves into that slightly more like, this guy's clearly like a fanatic lunatic, but charismatic enough to pull people to him to be part of his cult kind of thing.
Right.
But it's cool in the way that it leans into that fantasy setting as well. So it's not just kind of like, I'm a guy and I'm just like most religious people, and I'm just a very good orator and I can bring people to me. This actually does delve into the fantasy elements of it. So suddenly you are like, oh no, I am like a vampire. Absolutely. I can steal health from people because I'm fucking eating them and shit. So it's I think the setting's very good. It's kind of well thought out. But it just, as I said, just as you just jumped off, Lucy, it gets a little bit overwhelming with the amount of stuff that you can do within the game. But yeah, that's my tiny little preview of Whispers of the Eyeless.
Yeah, okay.
Something to keep my eye on, as it is in early access currently. So we'll return to that at some point, probably maybe towards the end of the year when it gets a little bit quiet, and I've got nothing to do. I've always got something to do. So yeah, they're sort of the games that I've dabbled in that I haven't spent a huge amount of time in at the moment, but I do have a couple of games which I put a lot of time into. I don't know where I found this time suddenly.
You always do. I don't get it because you got two kids. And
I know I have less going on in my life, even with the current house stuff and prepping for the year, than you do, and yet you find. Although maybe that's the thing, right? So
the fourth dimension.
Well, I think when you have to be on top of all your time,
you're more efficient.
You're more likely to not lose it to like half an hour on your phone.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think. I'm at a point where we've gone back to normality. So school started again.
Right.
And Indy is starting nursery as
well.
But we've gone back to having our mothers coming up to assist us with childcare kind of during the week. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
So you've unlocked the fifth dimension.
Well, yeah. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, either my mum or Kim's mum is with us.
Right.
And ultimately, they hang out in the kitchen and chat and drink and stuff. And I'm like, well, the television's free, so maybe I'll do a couple of emails for half an hour and then I'll go and play PlayStation. And then suddenly it's like midnight. Like, oh, I really should go to bed. And then one of the children gets up at 5 o'clock. And I'm like, well, I'll just go down and play some PlayStation whilst they're up playing with stuff. So, yes, I found some additional time to be able to play things. But
and you can just play or do anything sleep deprived because that is your setting. Whereas me, I wake up at 5 and it's like, I'm going back to sleep. What do I need to be up at?
Absolutely. I did, Indy got up at 4:30 the other morning, yesterday, in fact, and I had a meeting with one of my colleagues to run through numbers, and this was at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we started our meeting. And I'm like, I can't do this. I'm really sorry. My brain is just not taking any of this in.
Numbers should only occur between 9 and 11 a.m.
Absolutely, yeah, completely. But before I launch into those bigger games that have taken up much more of my time, Lucy, you wanted to talk about a game.
Yeah, Tactical Breach Wizards, which I spoke about the last time we were on here. Yeah, I finished it. I think I spent probably about 40 hours with it in total. It's really good. I don't know if it's like recency bias, but it'll definitely be competing with Balatro for the best game that I've played this year. Yeah, it's really good. And I think I spoke a little bit to the narrative last time. Yeah, the narrative, it's kind of like that, where it's like, oh, I kind of just want to get back into the action with some games where it's like the narrative isn't compelling you. And yes, I wanted to get back into the action as soon as I could with this, but the narrative is what, gives it that like kind of thread, and it's really good and it's really well written. It's funny. I said like the writing's somewhat analogous to Donut County, because it has that like
yes,
not quite memey kind of tinge to it, but that very we're in like odd circumstances, but still going to bring a bit of comedic effect to it. So all the characters are like very different and interesting. I think it's 5 in total that you end up unlocking throughout the course of the campaign. And it's just it's not one of the games where it's like, oh, let me replay levels to gain more XP for characters and like unlock extra abilities and stuff like that. It doles XP out just arbitrarily. It's like, okay, at this point in the story, at this point in
oh, I see.
You can this character has got more XP, so now you can unlock new abilities, just so as not to unbalance the game. The good thing is that if you want to replay any previous levels, like all your abilities are available to you. So it's like, there's certain side objectives in like each level. All that you do, on doing those side objectives is just basically having the ability to unlock new skins for each character. So it's like you only do it if you want to, and I found myself doing it all the time anyway. I mean, the outfits were cool, but it was like, it's just, this game is so cool, I want to see the different ways in which I can play levels, etc. I want to do those side objectives, even though they're completely arbitrary to everything in the story. So yeah, a lot of side content that you can just engage in if you want to. If you don't want to, that's also fine. But I found all the time I was like, okay, let me replay the level, even though I finished it, just to try and do the side objectives. So yeah, it's got a decent amount of content in that sense, and it's always fun going back with all your new abilities to be like, oh, let me try that side mission now. And you can choose whatever character you want as well. Even if like only 2 characters were unlocked at that point in the story, I can go back with 2 completely different characters and try it that way. And so, a lot of replayability and a lot of experimentation, which is what the game is about. It's like, we're not going to be too punishing. Spoke about it last time. It's not punishing. It's like it encourages experimentation and mixing and matching abilities and just messing around, see what works, see what sticks. And yeah, the narrative very much plays into the gameplay as well. It's like okay, this level, this is the objective. It's like, because there's like a kind of heist in there as well at the end. It's like, okay, this is what we need to do. So the objective isn't always just killing everybody in sight. Sometimes it's like moving a character to a certain place, or making sure certain characters don't sound an alarm. Enemies don't sound an alarm, like defeating like the boss of the level and don't have to worry about anybody else. So there's all these different objectives, and it always plays in with the story and what is needed from the characters at that point. So I think that it does it really well, integrating and interweaving the narrative into the gameplay. And yeah, it's fantastic. It's a really good tactics game.
Sounds great.
I've been looking forward to that Metal Slug Tactics, largely because of the IP, but like, it looks good anyway. Yeah, absolutely adore Metal Slug, but it's just like, it'll be hard to top this, just because of the fluidity and the experimentation that it offers, and the narrative on top of that. The whole package is just extremely well done.
Really happy to hear that about the narrative, because especially when I'm in an era of less frequent gaming, what I need is a game for a game to hook me is both good gameplay and good narrative. But often the thing that brings me back is wanting to know more about the world. If I'm in this state where, like, because obviously I'm not gaming that much, so I'm not craving certain gameplay experiences. Otherwise I'd be gaming more, because generically, play a game and you will get gameplay. And so I suspect that once term starts, I'll want to be playing games more, just because I will want the break.
Yeah, and it's a good, like, I know people think, oh, games aren't political. It's very political, and it's very good commentary on like geopolitical conflict and the status quo and the characters,
nano machines and shit.
Yes, it is very Metal Gear. To be honest, there's like wizards and witches who can
lots of lightning,
bend time. Yeah, it's every Metal Gear villain. So every time I was playing it, I was like, this is just a Metal Gear villain. All these characters. So yes, it is very much that. But there's a lot of introspection from like the individual characters that you play up, because there's like a dream sequence with every one of them, and those are like really well done and very like kind of, I wouldn't say touching, but it is very like, very well written. It like kind of, it still has that comedy, but each character has like pathos and like actually getting to the center of each character and doing it in a very, very tasteful and very interesting way. So I mean, the writing's incredible, and you don't really expect that from like a tactics game. It's usually just let's break down the doors and kill some people. But this does narrative and gameplay equally as good as each other, which is good.
Nice, good. Does it do so? Obviously, you're in a map with a certain way of being able to kind of go about it with the a pick of different characters. Does it have? Is it kind of like XCOM in that it's turn based, but you're picking an action for that character to do kind of each turn, and XCOM is very much like. There are classes of characters, and there's the churn. If they die, you can pick up new ones and all of that sort of stuff. Whereas I imagine with this game, because it's more like character based,
yes, they're all
that character can do and that character can do like the Overwatch kind of view. So if characters move into their line of sight, they get shot, there's like a tank kind of character, and that's
they do. Yes, they do fall into like. Those kind of character classes, like as you say, the tank. There's like the assist. But I feel they're less rigid as they are in like other tactical games. Like even like the assist player. They're not just there to like throw out like health packs. They do have like their own abilities where they can attack and stuff like that, and support. And the ways in like they are like, they're not too rigid with that. They're a bit more, I don't know, every character feels like, okay, yeah, it doesn't feel like they're pigeoned into that very much. Okay, this is a tank and it's only a tank, because like the tank character in this game, it's got the shield and stuff like that, can absorb a lot of damage. They can also like teleport to a completely different place on the map, and it's like, that unlocks a completely different set of like abilities that you maybe, I don't know, attribute to another character class in another kind of game that really digs into those classes. So yeah, they don't feel pigeonholed in that way. They are clearly meant to be like, okay, this is the tank, this is a support character, a mage or whatever. So, but they're not as rigid as in other games, which is nice.
If you end up having miscalculating, you have a whole bunch of enemies in the room that your non-tank has just entered, they're not going to get completely crushed because they're all a glass cannon, and you were supposed to put the cannon.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant.
Just buy it. Stop asking me questions about it. Just buy it.
I did. I just haven't played it.
Play it, Aadil. Yes, but this isn't a deal game.
Yes.
The map game is the Ben game.
Yeah. Love a good map. Cool. I don't know how you two are doing, but I think I'm going to open up another beer.
I'll get mine. I'll get mine from the fridge.
I think I'm almost on this one, so by the time you stop.
Cool. Well, I will open up and talk about my second beer then. It's a beer I've had before.
Sacrilege.
That I've had before, and I went back to have a look at exactly when it was. A beer that I had in 2021.
Oh, shit.
on episode 292, if anyone really wants to listen to my early thoughts on this beer. But this is a beer from Arbor called James and the Giant Nectoron. It's a
I
double
actually
IPA.
remember you having that.
It's a long time ago. I think it's the name that sort of sticks out. Isn't it? But it's been rebrewed. It's a juicy double IPA with Nectoron, Azaka, and a touch of Mosaic. It's 8.4%. I don't know if that's exactly the same as it was back in 2021. I haven't seen this beer for a very long time. And when I was in the shop, just caught my eye, and I'm like, oh, I've had that, but years ago. So maybe I'll return to it. As I did, with, what did I drink? The Buxton beer, Axe Edge, when it was just Lucy and I a couple of weeks ago. It's kind of rolling round to beers that I haven't had for 3, 4, 5 years again. Even though there is a wealth of new beers being brewed and new breweries and things like that. When it's on your doorstep, as we say here in Bristol, with Arbor and Left-Handed Giant and Wiper and True, you go back into those beers a little bit. I'll just jump straight into it whilst we're here. It looks very similar to the Left-Handed Giant. Similar in colour, just as hazy. A bit more head on this than the Left-Handed Giant did. Big nose. Very big nose, actually. Nice and fruity, but there's a slight sourness to it. Interesting. Okay. It's in the middle of that kind of old dipper, new dipper kind of
Red dipper,
way.
blue dipper.
Blue dipper, yeah, big dipper, little dipper, cardboard box dipper. It's got that sweetness to it. It's got that fruitiness to it. And that's kind of what you get straight away from it. But it very quickly sours. And it's much more... It feels like there's an earthy note coming in and souring everything. And it's almost like a bit of sweetness. It's, I assume it's, what does it say? Nectoron, Azaka, and Mosaic. It's almost like a blood orange as the big kind of flavour that I'm getting from this. So it's got that kind of sharp and sourness to it, as well as having a hint of kind of quite acidic sort of sweetness in there as well. And it's nice. It's a good level of those different things kind of going on. But I can see, with it being a pint can, getting towards the end that it would almost... my palate will just go, cool, this is just one flavour happening now.
Right.
Rather than at the start of this beer, I will talk about it at the end as well to see if this is true. But at the start of this, it sort of starts off slightly sweet and then it goes through that slight journey to give you those different levels of flavour. Not different flavours, but just different aspects of the same kind of flavour. It's sort of it's blood orange, but it's a bit sweet, then it's a bit sour and a bit tart, and then it's kind of got a bit of an earthy kind of element into that as well. So it's an interesting kind of mix of what's going on. But I'll come back to it later. The previous beer being incredibly light, I don't imagine that's doing much to sway my palate kind of away from what this beer is trying to do.
Right.
But we'll see as I get through it. Are either of you in a position to open? Oh, Aadil, let's go.
I've got the Vault City. It's another of the Stoopid series. I don't know if you recall the very foamy blue thing.
Yes,
that I think Lucy
the staggeringly good.
Stoopid. Yeah.
Maybe.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
But this is the Stoopid Black Forest Gateau Coconut Cream Smoothie Sour, 6.5% ABV. They've added... I don't know if you've seen Vault City for a while, but they've added a... stupid
Not quite, no.
filter. They've added a sourness scale, 1 to 5. I know it's blurry, but it's a 1, so it's not... It's going to be more sweet, which makes sense because it's a Black Forest Gateau. A series of smoothie sours dedicated to anyone who's ever asked, why can't beer just taste like beer? Jam-packed with unfermented fruit for the freshest aromas and flavors, featuring sweet cherries, rich dark chocolate, smooth vanilla, and coconut cream. Thick, that's 2 C's, decadent and outrageously tasty in every Stoopid sip. And it doesn't tell us anything more except that it's water, malted barley, cherry, coconut, cream, cacao husks, cholica, vanilla, hops, and yeast.
Best beer with the Stoopid moniker is the Stupid Sexy Flanders.
Oh, but is that a stupid double O?
No.
Yeah.
But it is
also,
Flanders beer, which I like.
I've just seen this. I didn't follow the directions on the tin, which says store cold upside down. Ready to drink, flip it and sip it.
Oh.
Didn't do that. Sorry, folks.
Oh.
All the tasting is ruined.
Yeah.
That's super interesting.
I mean, so interesting though to have your take on it, putting it in the fridge as most people would do without actually reading it.
Well, yeah, obviously. Who the fuck thinks that their beer is going to tell them to store it upside down?
Yeah.
I've heard that with some beers. I think it was on the craft beer channel that I heard it, but I don't know what style that was that they were talking about. Yeah,
I mean, I guess I could have shook it.
It was like, yes, have it
Oh, wow.
upside down.
Son of a bitch. Sorry, I did the crack. Oh, there's beer on my thumb. And I'm just going to warn you. One, it's
What
a
colour is
colour.
it?
Oh, dear.
Oh wow.
What?
Like
It's
a
also
chocolate
very
milkshake.
thick,
Stop.
and my
Yeah.
thumb taste
It
of
is a
it.
chocolate milk.
I suppose it is a Black Forest Gateau
Yeah,
flavoured.
But I didn't expect
beers.
it to actually look like one.
like they put a Black Forest Gateau in a fucking blender. Yeah, for those of you on the podcast, it is a oh yeah, perfect for Aadil. It is a very browny red, is what I would say. It looks like a smoothie, and it looks like a smoothie of someone putting a less
Couple apples.
yeah, apples. Oh, that yeah,
Chocolate.
apples, and maybe a bit of cherry, just because it has a bit of vibrancy to the red that apples wouldn't give. But yeah, it also poured with 2 strong fingers of head. I will say, you can see giant bubbles, so it does remind you of a milkshake. But unlike the blue Stoopid, these don't feel like they're never gonna go away. 'Cause I think it was like the head remained 5 minutes later, and I can already see the bubbles popping here. So I look forward to this being at least less thick, although they have described it as thick with 2 C's in the flavor text. But I will put this down and let it settle a bit.
Let's
while
let's
Lucy
go to
tells us about
Lucy
her
for
beer.
your next
Yeah,
beer, and then we
yeah.
can come back to you, Aadil, for flavour.
I got a beer from a brewery that I'd never heard of, called Brid's Cross. Brid is, well, I've quickly read their bio, because I had never come across them before. Apparently their first beers only got into circulation in 2023. Let me show you the can. Is it like some kind of Gaelic?
Like a constellation?
Yes, there's a ship with some very he looked Norse to me. So, but apparently it's like
It's almost like a troll.
Irish. Yeah, like a little.
Oh yeah,
troll
like
man. It's called Bolster's Blood. It's a red IPA. Because you never
Nice.
see that style usually. When I was at a festival last week, was it only last week? Oh my god. The best beer that I had there was a red IPA from Amity.
Nice.
Amity Brewing. Yeah, my friend asked for it. I didn't even scope it out, and she was like, "Why is it red? Why is it this colour?" And I was like, and I looked at it, I was like, "Because it's a red IPA." And then she was like, "You have it." And then I said, "Taste it first." And she was like, "Oh, this is very good." And it was the best
Nice.
beer of the festival for me.
Really?
So yeah, maybe I don't know. Like, never see this style. This is the time of year, is it not? Very autumnal. It's got a very, very amberish colour, more so than your first beer, Aadil.
How was it?
As
Launched
you're-
straight into it? Because I imagine
Yeah,
Aadil
because
needs
I'm wondering about
several
Adil's
minutes.
head
to-
as it gone down.
before he
Yeah,
gets to it.
I was. It looks identical.
Yeah,
the bubbles have gotten a bit bigger.
Yeah.
I'm happy to go fast. I'm just staring at it, willing it to. I mean, I can sip through it, but I think I'll get a little on the tip of my nose, but that's okay.
But yeah, very very malty, like bready kind of aroma, but a lot of fruit in there, like dark red fruits, like maybe a bit of cherry. I think fig was in my mind from when we were talking about the Martson. Yeah, like dark berry fruit. Smells really good, but like it's got that nice bready maltiness to it as well. Oh yeah. Don't know if it's because I'm coming off the alcohol-free beer, but it's like the body on that. It's like it's not heavy. I'd say it's medium-bodied, but it's like and it's bitter.
Nice.
This is what I want from a red IPA. This is what I want from all beers ever, but especially at this time of year. It's not afraid to go into that bitterness at the end. That is it's so well balanced. It's still got like those dark red fruits in like the taste, but just all bitterness on that finish. And it carries over those like very bready, malty, moorish kind of notes to it. It's just, you drink this at like a fireplace in September when the weather has just dropped like it has recently. This is, sorry, not that I'm lost for words, it's not that good, but it's just like, I just want to shut up and drink it. I hate that this kind of style has just gone out of fashion, because just like malt forward, heavy bitterness on the end, well balanced with a little bit of fruit in that taste. It's so good. And had a wheat IPA, wheat beer from them yesterday, which was also very good, very true to the style. So
nice.
It feels like they might be doing like styles that have sort of gone out of fashion, and just bringing them back and just doing them very well, how they should be done. Yeah, this is so good. Maybe
that's great.
It's because of the alcohol-free beer, right?
Hey,
like
that counts.
Just like that had no bitterness, and it was like that horrible artificial sweetness at the end. And this is like complete opposite. This is a bad boy, big boy beer. Bad boy, big boy beer.
Bad boy, big boy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Bad boy, big boy. It's a bolster. I mean, it's called Bolster's blood. Yeah, like that's a manly beer. This is what you want. Yeah, very good.
Perfect.
Yeah, how's your girly milkshake?
So I will say the first Staggeringly Stupid I had was the Blue Hawaiian Staggeringly Stupid. I found the picture, and I will say, I don't know if you can. Oh, you can't quite resolve this probably. But the bubbles are much bigger in that one.
Look at that. Yeah. I remember it well.
Yeah. There are small pits in the head now. It's clearly dropped down, but
you can get through.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say that like initial taste of the couple drops after cracking the tin and this nose are just identical to a Black Forest Gateau. Like that's why I said, "Oh shit," or whatever I said, my exclamation. And I didn't want to preempt this, but it was just like, yep, and it smells sweet, chocolatey, underlying cherry, exactly what you'd think. Like to the point where, like, it's a bit stronger than if you had a really well-made Black Forest Gateau. If you had freshly made, and you fork or spoon, however you're supposed to eat dessert. I don't know what the etiquette is. But bring it to your face, and right before you take that bite, you like inhale. It has that sort of exact smell of I am about to have a bite of this cake.
Nice.
I mean,
now whether we want that out of a beer is a different question. What it's doing the thing that's on the tin.
If they're good at anything, it's evoking in this tin those like flavors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't want to imbibe them, but they are good at that for sure.
Oh wow! So Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Lucy.
Fine.
I will say, thankfully, the nose is perfect for the thing it's replicating, and the taste isn't. And I mean that because I don't think I would want to drink a liquid Black Forest Gateau. That sounds kind of heinous. And so I will say, what's nice is that, like, even though it's a number 1 on the sour scale, which I presume, given that the numbers get bigger, that they get more boisterous, it has a sour note to it, which, the cake wouldn't. It tastes more like a drink because of that.
I guess some of the cherries, I don't know, on the Black Forest might have that, like...
Oh, I think it's just...
cut through the chocolate sometimes, so...
And it's just, yeah, it's enough sour that it tastes like a drink and like a beer. Well, like a sour from Vault City. Less like a beer in the sense there's no maltiness that's like... or bitterness. What's really interesting is you get this deep chocolatey hip right in the first sip, or the beginning of the taste. And you're like, but then the actual sour hits, the tartness. And that fades, but the finish is basically this cacao-y, chocolatey, bit of more sweet chocolate. So, like, it's actually more like sugar and chocolate together rather than like a sweet chocolate, if that makes sense. So I'm still getting a bit of those bitter undertones of a dark chocolate, but there's also some sweetness. And then the tartness kind of lingers. And I think that's what's making me not overwhelmed by the cake. Because actually, the sweetness fades before the tartness does. And it's not a huge tartness, but it's enough to feel like a drink, like I said. And because that's minimally there and not masked really at any point except for that initial part of the taste, you're like, okay, I'm drinking a sour beer with a very unique taste, but it has that throughout, which I think Vault City, especially earlier on, used to do really good replication stuff, sometimes to their detriment, as Lucy and I have both sort of been alluding to with our comments, to the point where it's like, yes, I'm glad I had this because it's like wild that you could make this. I will never have it again, right? That was sort of the most like on point and like bizarre flavors. Like I remember when they for the episode we had them on, they sent us the box, and on the box was the like blueberry lemon drizzle cake, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that
mango one I remember.
The mango one was great. I think it was my favorite of the bunch. But the blueberry, the cake one, tasted like the cake, which was fascinating. And even if I saw it in a store, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, that fascinating beer." It's just because it tasted exactly like the cake.
Yeah.
And actually, this doesn't, and that's why I like it a lot, because it has more of a I'm drinking a thing, not drinking a. I'm not like having an interesting culinary experience, for lack of a better term, right? Like, this has enough of, like I said, that backbone of the sour coming through to the detriment of pure replication, which they've done on the nose. So it doesn't taste like a Black Forest Gateau. It just tastes like a Black Forest Gateau, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not doing this replication, and because of that, it's just a more interesting beer. There's like a more of a sour beer to it rather than a drink that's alcoholic that tastes like a thing that's kind of wild that you could make a drink taste like it. It's still, it's quite thick, obviously.
Because I'd drink that and I'd just think stout straight away. Like, why?
Yeah, so I would, if this gets to around you, I'd be really curious what you would think of it. Just because, at least for my taste this evening, it is, like I said, it's got this lovely sour undertone that is melding well. Like, the drink is tasty. It's doing nothing towards the Black Forest Gateau thing, but it is making it much more of a drink. In the way that, like I said, I know I'm slightly more amenable to their nonsense than you are.
Yeah. I'm just like, why is this not somewhere in London where it's like the experience where you can have all these drinks, and they say it's like a lemon meringue pie and you have the alcohol equivalent of it.
Yeah.
It's just like, so I'd rather just have Bolster's blood.
Yeah. So what I'm going to say is
I'll try it and like,
The Blue
I think it's
Hawaiian,
fascinating.
even though it was like, I mean, I don't think either of us was that like familiar with Blue Hawaiians. That didn't have the same sort of, oh, this kind of tastes like a sour beer with some flavor, some really interesting, rich flavors on it. That tasted like a wild thing, and at no point would I ever. I'd be dumb enough to suggest you should try this. Also, I'm your friend, so I wouldn't be like, have something you won't like. This, I think you might, but I'd be super curious, like whether it has enough of that extra or whether it's still too much.
No, because the last Vault City beer that I had, was it even on this podcast? I can't remember, but I enjoyed it, and I think I always enjoy their beers, but as you say, it's usually a one and done, not my preferred style, usually. Whereas the beers that I just naturally gravitate to, even to, on the podcast, because I'm like, oh, I want to talk about this beer because it's usually a style I like. Like a red IPA. It's like, yes, I like red IPA, so I'll save it for the podcast. Those are just, yes, it would only be for the podcast kind of thing, and not for my overall enjoyment, even though I would probably still enjoy them. Because their beers are very good, and they craft beers very well. But it is just like, oh, I will remember Bolster's Blood, or at least try to, further on down the line, where it's the Vault City one. It's just like, yeah, I'll forget it, because I probably don't want that again. Even though I had a good time with it, I probably don't want to have it again.
Fair.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice. Good. Well, let's enjoy these then. I think I'm already halfway through my can of fucking Arbor.
I will say, once I started drinking, they had actually, I think once I broke the structural integrity of the web of crazy bubbles, it has gone down a reasonable amount.
Just instantly collapsed. Perfect. Let's then talk about, I suppose, a couple of games that I've been putting a lot of time into, one of which I'm going to talk at length about now. It's a game I got a code for. It came out today, day of recording, on the 12th, called Caravan Sand Witch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw it. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Venue.
I played the demo of it a few weeks back, maybe.
Yes, you definitely spoke about it, yeah.
Yeah, and even the demo, I think maybe about an hour or something like that, kind of sold me enough on understanding that whilst it's kind of being pushed as a bit of an semi-open world style kind of game, that actually it's a much more curated experience. But ultimately, Caravan Sand Witch is a journey, right? A journey for the player and a journey for the character. That's kind of.
I thought you were talking about the PlayStation game.
Not the PlayStation exclusive journey. It is. I don't know whether the phrase semi-open world comes from. It's sort of something that's been used in their marketing, but it is kind of like an open world game. Right? You can go anywhere on the map. I think pretty much as soon as you unlock getting out of the first little tutorial kind of area. But ultimately, it's an adventure game, and it's a very, very kind of chilled exploration game. It reminds me so much of Sable, that you're traveling around the world on a mode of transport, and ultimately what you're doing is helping people out with their issues and their problems, whilst having a bit of a quest that you're trying to do yourself. Sable was very much, the quest was help people. Caravan Sand Witch is much more, there's a problem and I need to go and figure out why this has happened, or go and sort of investigate into it. And whilst I'm here, I can do these other kind of elements. But it's very much sort of like, you want to be helping kind of people. You want to be experiencing it, because that's where the narrative and where the a lot of the exposition for the world and stuff comes from. That's the interesting part of this game, right? The world that they've kind of built, and the lore. We were talking earlier about sort of lore in kind of games, and it's a very interesting kind of almost post-apocalyptic kind of world. And it's not necessarily post-apocalyptic. It's actually more of a, it's a random planet a corporation has been into and essentially decimated for resources. So the small kind of settlements that are on this place have barely anyone in them anymore. Resources are running very thin. There's lots of issues that are kind of happening. And so a lot of your quests are, hey, can you try and talk to these people about trading us for some things? Or can you go and see if there is a way for us to be able to improve this kind of thing? And the main mechanic around this is the caravan itself. It's not really a caravan. It's a van.
It's a sandwich.
Yeah. Well, so the name of the game is very much kind of what's going on within it. So you're in a van. It's like it's not even quite like a motorhome, right? It's not a caravan as such. It's a van, and the gameplay loop is that you upgrade a tool for the van. So the first one is like a scanning machine, and you can scan and they'll be like, oh cool, there's resources over there, or there's something that I have to go and do over here. The next one is it the next one? But there's like a grapple hook as well, so suddenly you can like fling it out to like pull open doors and stuff that you can then drive through, or go into spaces that you can explore and stuff. That becomes like powered later on, so there's lots of different upgrades, and the game sets itself out in chapters, and basically the next upgrade sets you into the next chapter of the game. And whilst that doesn't necessarily unlock different areas, what it does is it moves time forward, so it puts characters in different places.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so if there's a bunch of additional quests that characters have asked you to do, and it very much like pops up, it's like, this is the end of this chapter. Do you want to do... You haven't done these things.
Oh, no.
These will not be available to you
Good.
in the next chapter.
Yeah.
Do you want to go and do them? And you can be like, absolutely, I don't want to make this thing now. I'm going to go off and do these extra things. Because that's where the joy of this game is. The joy of this game is in, as it was with Sable, getting the lore of the world and understanding what's happened and experiencing what the characters are experiencing. And it's very well written. It's from a French studio. I think they're called Plain Toast. That's the studio name.
Toast sandwich.
And
I like these.
yes. Well, the sound which comes from like an in-game character, let's say.
The Earl of Sandwich.
Yes, exactly. That's said on Alien World. He's still there, but it's kind of one where I think they've paced this game incredibly well. And they've made it intriguing enough, and intriguing narratively, intriguing in the world, that you want to explore. So you're walking around, or I'm walking around with Sage, kind of going, I want to drive the caravan to this place and then just get out and do a little bit of the kind of easy exploration and platforming kind of around this sort of thing, and go and get the resources that I need to upgrade to the next thing for the caravan. But also being like, oh shit, I've just found this, like, and there's a bunch of collectibles in there as well, because it's an open world game. But the collectibles are ultimately a pillow on the ground, which, like in Assassin's Creed, you get to the top of the tower and it does like a 360. This, you sit on the pillow and it doesn't necessarily do a 360, but it does some very cinematic kind of panning shots of the environment. So a lot of these pillows are in high sort of places. So it's actually like, do this vertical kind of platforming element, get up, and your reward is this lovely vista across the world. Or there's a radio up there, and there's just a bunch of additional songs that you just only get if you're playing them on this radio. And as soon as you move away, so there's a proximity on the radio, so as soon as you move away from it, you don't listen to it anymore. So you could just take the time to sit and listen to the song.
What kind of music is it?
It's a mix. Right, it's a bit of a mix of stuff. There's a little bit of kind of more chilled sort of... A bunch of it's in French as well, sort of the lyrics of the songs. So it's very much kind of... Some of it was a bit more chilled, some of it was a bit more kind of upbeat, and a bit more kind of... Not like dancey or anything like that, but it kind of lent a little bit more into being a little bit more like frenetic and a little bit sort of more upbeat kind of thing. So I don't know if there's any correlation...
European house music from like the 90s.
It's absolutely. I mean, you get up there and it's just like, oh, this like decimated world. There's only like 20 people in this whole area, and then it's just like, bwah, 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 bwah.
Yeah.
It's not quite like that. But I don't know whether I don't know if the songs have been like specifically chosen for areas and things like that.
Yeah.
But everything in this game feels very well placed, let's say. So the areas kind of all expand that a little bit. You know, you drive out of the first kind of town, and it's a few corridors, and then suddenly you open into this expanse of like desert. And like, oh, that's cool. Like, I can go to here, just a building at the edge of the desert. Or I can go over here to another sort of place at the edge of the desert. Or actually, this lush sort of forest over here. Let's go and explore what's kind of down there. And the map and things will always kind of push you towards where these kind of quests or these storylines and things are as well. So whilst it's kind of open world, it is still pushing you to certain sort of areas and places to experience everything that the game wants you to experience. But it allows you to just explore. So there's a bunch of places I kind of just ran around and explored that I could only progress them so far because I didn't have the tool unlocked for the caravan yet to fully open up what I needed to kind of do in that area.
Yeah. Semi-open world, as we said. Yeah.
So, semi-open world, yes. Yeah. And it's a beautiful game. Like, it's got this lovely kind of almost sort of comic book sort of look on it. It's vibrant enough that you're kind of, it's a bit of a desert, and it's lots of beige and brown and greys of these industrial corporate buildings and factories. But the character's got red hair. She's in a big sort of turquoise kind of top and stuff. A lot of the characters are full of colour, and that's where like the pop comes. The caravan is a big yellow fucking box you're driving around in, you know. Like, there's a lot of vibrancy even in these kind of quite toneless kind of areas. And I think they've again, it's done in a way to be like, cool, the focus wants to be here, right? We're using colour to put the focus on the character and what they're doing and moving around the spaces and stuff. And I think it's just very, very well thought through in terms of, as I said earlier, pacing, but also how they're drawing your eye to certain places in this. Because it's not a big map, but they use it well, and they bounce you around it that little bit. And I really like this game, but there are a couple of problems that I think, I haven't been to it. It came out today. I haven't played it today, so I don't know if there's a day one patch. I imagine there is. But there's a couple of problems with the build that I was playing in the much later stages of the game. There's no voiceovers in this, so it's all on-screen text. And the standard kind of like noise when someone is kind of talking. All audio cut out for me in the last chapter. A couple of different points. Again, something that can be fixed, I would imagine. But it wasn't quite all audio. There was just like the background ambient noise, so you could hear the wind suddenly. But I was driving the van around. There's no noise for the engine. There was no noise for pulling a door off of the hinges, which they normally would be. And secondly, I couldn't finish every storyline because one storyline puts a character in different places to go and visit through those different chapters. And so in the last chapter, that character is in a different place. It's the last point you need to go and speak to them about. But the last chapter doesn't let me get out of the caravan. The chapter starts, and I have to do the set path that the chapter wants me to do, which takes me to the end of the game. So there was no opportunity. So I drove over to the character, tried to get out, and it's like, no, you can't do that.
Wild.
I'm not going to get to go back and experience like just this one final storyline, which is great for the exposition of the world, because it, runs through almost all of the chapters, giving you information, giving you kind of why the corporation is here, what they were doing. You're uncovering kind of the story, and it's just that little bit frustrating that it was
pre-release thing.
I think it must be a pre-release thing, right?
Yeah,
That must have been identified to be rolled, so actually that character's story starts a chapter earlier.
Yeah.
And so then their final part of that quest is in the penultimate kind of chapter, potentially. I would hope so, but it ties in that character's... It must be a hard thing to do, because that character's story actually ties into why you're visiting some of these places anyway. So it's like, you've got to go to this place, and that character happens to be there. So you're exploring this place anyway. So I don't know whether it would have to be a massive rework to do that or not. Yeah. Or they just need to give you the ability to get out of the van. And
right.
I think
could
that's
just destroy the whole game.
It could absolutely. And as with a lot of games, it also, as the only final sticking point for this, is it also has the issue that hundreds and hundreds of video games have faced, in that you are kind of in this very chill, semi-open world environment. Take it at your own pace, explore where you want, but the story is like, hello, there's a time-sensitive thing happening. So it's not time-sensitive.
Yeah.
Really. There's no like timer counting down.
Yeah.
It's more like, I need to do this as quickly as possible. There's an urgency to what I want to do. And then a character's like, oh, just hang out here for like 2 days. And you're like, yeah, all right.
That's every game.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, that's what he's saying. Yeah. But it's just...
I thought you said that's like no other game.
No, it's like... It's
right, I misheard you. Right, yeah.
No,
as soon as you take away the railroading pacing, but keep the same style of writing, you will have this problem.
Yeah, Fate of the Universe is, well, it's on the brink, but you just clear these rats out.
What really sucks is, like, you could add a thing where if you dilly-dally, someone says, what took you so long? Or just some acknowledgement.
Sure.
Like, and even though it still doesn't make sense, because, like, again, if you think about the character, why would they fucking go clear the rats out of a basement for like 3 quarts of sugar, or whatever the fuck the game wants you to do, when, like, they have the key to destroying the evil bad guy, right?
Yes. There should be, like, not a complete troll game where you can't finish the game because
you fucked around too much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There should be like, this many
sorry,
people
you missed your
died
train.
in
It's gone.
Yeah.
Can't get another one.
Yeah.
It's actually, the game is called FAFO. You fuck around and find out. You, like, do all the stuff the games want you to do, and then it's like,
the end of the universe,
fucking universe is gone, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
There's armies of demons. Why didn't you go right away with the fucking solution?
Yeah.
Also,
or the softer version is like, okay, 1 billion people died in the world, in the war, but if you hurried up, only 100 million died. Yeah.
And it also ties in with that game that you can only play once. So you can never replay it again. Like, that is your choice. You fucked it.
But, and also, like...
Live with that. Like,
you didn't care about humanity enough.
Instead of your, like, over-encumbrance being, like, you walk at, like, 10% your speed, like they do in, like... Bethesda-type games. It's, like, slightly slower, so you don't immediately notice, but you've been fucking around holding all the, like, random shit that the game's just taking you 10-15% longer, but you don't notice.
Imagine if, like, 3 million people died because you were playing Gwent.
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, you've got to love how it's like a frozen moment in time, right? For these sorts of things. Like, I sit on my phone and I play Marvel Snap, and I play it. It's a 2-minute kind of game, so you can kind of be like, cool. In the world of The Witcher, you're playing a game of Gwent, and it's 2 minutes out of Geralt's life to be able to sort of play this. But if you lose, and then you just get to play the character again, it's the same 2 minutes. Over and over and over and over, repeating, rather than the character turning around like, you're really shit at this. We've played like 10 times now. We've been here for 4 days. Just give up, mate. Fuck off.
Like, the best would be like you do that, and then like after like the 5th game you lose, the guy's like, no, I'm not going to play you again. You're not a challenge. I'm done. Or like, I've already got this much money from you, dude. I'm done. I don't want you to get less money. I'm not enjoying this anymore. Like, giving agency to the guy you keep losing to just be like, fuck this.
Was that something in like Red Dead 2?
Oh, probably.
I don't know. I can't
I don't know.
remember. Or if
That's a
it's
game
like,
I've never played.
You just suck, and they're just like, I ain't playing this. Or
I
you win
feel like
too
it's-
much, and it's like, I'm done.
I feel like it's something that was probably in like Inscription, right? The amount of times that you kind of went through that first phase of Inscription, and that character having the agency to be like, "Hey, you're back."
Yes, there was probably some dialogue written in that. Be like,
God, that game is
you
good.
suck.
I actually haven't gone back to it because I know.
The endless mode.
Yeah, well, the problem is, I mean, playing the endless mode on like the first zone, whatever you want to call it, might be fun. But like, it was such a unique experience, and then like the shifts of that game, plot wise, that were totally gameplay affecting, won't be there because I'm playing the mode where they aren't there, or it will not hit well the second time around. I have no urge to optimize my level, like Zone 2 deck. But I got through. That's what mattered. I beat the right things.
Oh, you like Zone 2?
No, I'm just saying as an example of if I was replaying the game.
Yeah.
Specifically, Zone 2, I think, would be, because I know it's not the final zone.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on collection, right? And it's like, well, my collection at the end of the day doesn't matter because I'm going to teleport away from this zone forever. That like Zone 2 is kind of just like a dead thing to me, even though I literally play Magic the Gathering once a week in person in paper and using my collection of cards. You would think that'd be my favorite, but because of the way it fits in the game, I don't really have an urge to replay the game generally, but definitely not that bit, because it's based on building a collection that I know I won't interact with that long because I'm going to leave that world. Because Zone 3 exists.
For sure my least favourite section.
Yeah, I also think it
got
just
marked by two great ones. Like, that is the perfect place for that.
Yeah, no, I think it's well placed in the game, and especially the first time around, like, you're like...
It's like a, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just don't think
so it worked well as
plays
that,
well.
but yeah.
I don't think I would enjoy being there the second time around.
No, same. Yeah. I really enjoyed the last one, though. That was very good as well. But yes, the first one is just very much, why is this not a card game?
Yeah.
You know? What a game that was. Was that 2019?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even want to know how much.
No, 2020?
It must have been...
So 2021.
I was living in Bristol. Okay. I know that much.
2021. Yeah.
2021.
That was my favourite game of that year.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
I do... I just got onto the Steam page, and I do like how... how we're talking about it in terms of the phases and things like that. That ultimately all of the marketing, all of the images on Steam is just for the initial kind of
yes,
part of that game.
And I was interested in that already because it was like I love Pony Island.
Yeah, and it's got that kind of like it's got that Slay the Spire kind of progression to it, or at least that's kind of what it looks like. And then it adds in the element of what's that other game, Hand of Fate, where you were playing again a card game, but you were sat opposite a character who was dealing these cards and that kind of thing. So it brought in a few different kind of elements into that to be like, oh, this looks really cool, and then it was suddenly just like, hi. You're like, oh shit, what the fuck's going on? Yeah. To bring it back to Caravan Sand Witch, that game's not going to do this for you. It's not. It's nowhere near Inscription, but it doesn't need to be. Absolutely, it's a completely different kind of game. If you enjoy an explorative adventure game with a really, at least for me, a compelling kind of narrative, I very much am sat in that position. That anything that is kind of family related, father-daughter kind of relationships and things like that as well, very much hit me in the right kind of way. I say at this point in my life. So it's got enough sci-fi to it as well that it kept me intrigued. It's got enough kind of corporate bullshit that I'm kind of like, politically cool as well. So it just kind of it's the sweet spot for me for a very short adventure game. I can't tell you how many hours I played. I might be able to actually, if I can see on the PlayStation app, because I was playing it on PS5. So I will do that very shortly.
Oh, that's why you're so upset. You couldn't get that platinum. I see. I thought you were playing on.
Well, there's a bunch of stuff I didn't do in that game to get the platinum, which I could potentially give it. I played 8 hours, so I finished it within about 8 hours because I finished it and I haven't gone back to it.
Time,
so yeah. PlayStation doesn't give me much more than just 8 hours on how much I played it. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's a good little narrative adventure game.
Yeah.
So
that's how I do about it. It's on my wish list, though. Yeah,
nice. The final game I'll talk about this week, which I've also played for 8 hours, is Astro Bot.
Ah, yes. I was wondering if this was the game.
Yes, and I think there's probably like another 6-ish kind of hours.
Yeah,
I'm just over maybe halfway.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking fantastic. Like it is so simple that it just is compelling, right? The gameplay, it's a classic fucking platformer, but one that refreshes itself almost every few levels. So
that's sending bad triggers down my spine. I just think of like something like Super Mario Wonder.
Oh.
Like just flipping commit to just the game.
What is the premise of this game?
Sure.
Yeah,
so
I don't need new things shouting at me.
It's not
stupid cacti or
it's not quite like that. Yeah, it doesn't scream at you constantly. To start with, but it will be like it builds on Playroom. So you're the same little Astro Bot.
Was that a PlayStation 4 game?
Thing, yeah, right? Wasn't it? No, PS5.
It was a PlayStation 5. It was the launch title for PS5.
The bundle launch game.
Okay.
But there was also a PSVR bundly
yeah.
game that had Astro Bot in it, I think.
Yes, there is a VR game for Astro Bot VR game.
That's how it started.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Yes,
yeah,
that
and
must be what I'm thinking of.
The non-VR one, it's just a platforming game. That's all it is. But Astro Bot leans into, as Playroom did. Playroom was like, here are some levels. You're collecting like PlayStation memorabilia through the 20 years of PlayStation, or 25 years of PlayStation. And this one is like you're collecting bots. So you're collecting the same character, but stylized versions of old PlayStation icons, essentially. And lots of the levels are themed around these PlayStation kind of icons. So there's a huge God of War thing. So it's all ice, and suddenly
it's all. Is it all first party? Sorry to interrupt. There's no third party.
No. There's a bunch of third party stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
There's you can unlock Leon and Claire from Resident Evil, Pyramid Head from Silent Hill. There's a bunch of different characters.
That's really cool.
So it works it in a way that you have a level, and in that level, to win, you have to get to the end of the level and do a bunch of platforming to do that. You collect coins in the level, as you do in most kind of platforming games, but you're also collecting bots, and you're collecting puzzle pieces. And puzzle pieces basically bring up stuff that aren't really necessary for the game. But you run through and you collect bots, and they are necessary because later levels, to get to the boss stage for that small galaxy that you've gone to, and it's set in that kind of way, like you're the bot and you jump on the PS5 control pad, but that's a spaceship, and you travel to a new solar system basically, and the levels are different planets within the solar system, right?
It's a Little Big Planet.
It is very similar to Little Big Planet, absolutely. But it's kind of set up in a way that like this one has 7 bots in it. This level has 8 bots in it. This level has 5 bots in it. But to beat the boss in this level, you need to have unlocked 20 bots. And so
Mario Odyssey.
Very similar Mario Odyssey. And very much kind of actually just by playing it, kind of even the worst player who's not worst player, sorry, is not the right way to say this. The player that's not exploring the level that much will find the right amount of bots kind of just on the critical path through it to get through that. And it's very kind of accessible in that sort of way. You don't have to do all of that exploration. But I am spending my time uncovering fucking everything I can within a level. And basically 100%ing each level. Nostalgia. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm tied to PlayStation.
And the feather world is waiting for you.
Literally sat here on a PlayStation t-shirt. But it didn't kind of hit me until maybe like 3/5 of the way through. I think I'm on I've just started the 4th solar system, but the 3rd solar system. Each solar system, as you get to that kind of like boss level, has a PlayStation franchise attached to it. So there's been God of War so far. Was the first one Ape Escape? Might have been Ape Escape as the first one. But then God of War, and it's been Uncharted, the one that I've just hit. And as I'm going through the level, it's just got the main Uncharted theme running in the background. And I'm just sat there like, man, I really want to go back and play Uncharted. Like it's doing enough just in that Astro Bot level for me to be like, I should download Lost Legacy, or I should download the Nathan Drake collection, or whatever it's called, where they remastered the sort of the few games. I'm like, oh no! After I finish Astro Bot, this is what I'm going to go and play now. I'm going to go and play a Nathan Drake experience, some kind of Uncharted game.
Also, Uncharted Solar System is a very good pun.
Yes. It leans heavily into it, and there's a bunch of Metal Gear characters as well. It's kind of games that I have grown up with. I'd be like, oh, there's this like cutesy Astro Bot version of like old Snake. Yeah, and very much when you unlock them, there's a tiny one line of flavor text. And I can't remember, for Old Snake, I think it's sort of, it said something, not for Old Snake, for Naked Snake, which is the character in Metal Gear 3. It was like, the tagline was like, he'll be a big boss one day. Because he's then the bad guy in the later game, in the original games, because he is big boss in the later games. So, chronologically, it was just, it leans into it so much. Yeah, that every single thing, I'm just like, yes, absolutely. Like this endorphin hit every fucking 30 seconds in this game.
This sounds more wholesome than it is sinister. How I look at like Smash Brothers, because that is sinister. That makes people want to buy all those other franchises, and this. I don't know why. It's probably also very sinister, but it sounds more wholesome to me. Very much.
There's not like an amiibo and an NFC chip tied to unlocking characters and all this sort of stuff. It is indoctrination. Because if PlayStation go, here is a pack of like Astro Bot Aloy, Astro Bot Nathan Drake, Astro Bot fucking Kratos, the Astro Bot himself, and you get these like tiny little like 1.5-inch figures, and it's £50. I'm buying it. I'm like, yep, absolutely. That's going to live on a shelf somewhere, and I can look at it every day and be like, oh, wasn't that a fun time? Amazing. I'll never take them down, never touch them again.
Being like, who's Nathan Drake? And then you're
that'd be even better.
No, I've got to buy Uncharted. There's something underlyingly sinister about these games, but it's just like, but this I can get on board with because it seems like a very good platformer, whereas Smash is just trash. So
yes,
I'm very much more on board with this.
I think it's very, something like Smash is a very specific kind of game.
It's trash.
And Astro Bot is a specific game, but it's a very accessible game.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's even more.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Fair. But it's. I'm finding that I just want to go and experience the levels. When you unlock the Kratos level, the God of War level, Kratos throws the axe, the Leviathan axe, to you. And so suddenly, as Astro Bot, you're running around with a mini, like a pared back Kratos skin to the Astro Bot, but with the Leviathan axe. And so the level very much leans into throw it. So the R2 button is like whatever the thing you have on you is the thing you can do in that level. So there's lots of like throw the axe to knock down these platforms, to run through, and all of this sort of stuff. The Nathan Drake one is a gun, right? And no other point do you have a gun in this kind of game. But the Nathan Drake one is you press R2 and you're firing off like 6 shots and then you have to reload kind of thing. But the level works really well in that it will pop up like 6 enemies in the distance and you can just be like bam, 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 bam. And it just feels really good. Like the abilities that you have in this game feel good to use. One of them is a fucking chicken. I don't know what franchise this comes from, right? One of them is a chicken as a backpack. But it is a boost pack. So you press R2 and it will shoot you like 30 feet in the air. And I'm like, what franchise is this from?
Clank? Oh.
Is this? I mean, yeah. Is this just made for this game? Like a bunch of stuff ties into stuff. So you know, you've got fucking hands that are like little crocodiles,
Glover.
and that you like. So it's like yes, and you punch. Basically, you can punch through impunchable fucking areas, basically, to move through the level, and you can kind of tie. And it feels like it's croc, right? It's what the word? What's the globos? I can't remember what it exactly is in
Legend
croc.
of the Gobbo.
But again, yes, it's a
Can't be
it's a
Croc
PlayStation like
reference, surely.
tied. Yeah, it feels like it is
Surely.
because they look like fucking little fucking gobos from Croc, right?
Surely.
And so everything feels like it's tied back to some kind of PlayStation franchise.
Yeah.
But I cannot
That's
place this
cool.
fucking chicken.
It's probably some weird game that only came out in Japan in 1995 and never saw the light of day over here.
Well,
I don't know.
like there's a bunch of like, and
I think
the good thing it does
Google
is
it. Someone's probably done Reddit.
yeah,
deep
probably.
dive on all
I mean,
the
people
references
have
that you've not
will
even
have
picked up. Mhm.
yeah people will have 100%ed this, and that, I think I've seen a screenshot where the game says there are 300 Astro Bots to collect, and someone has collected like 305 or something like that. You know, it's kind of that sort of. There's a bunch of like Caravan Sand Witch. If you do the exploration, you get exposition, you get a little bit of world building and that kind of thing. With Astro Bot, there's just more cool themed bots to unlock. So actually I was flying around and suddenly this like asteroid comes into one of the solar systems. I'm like, oh, go and hit it. And I hit it and it created a new level. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, cool. So there is hidden stuff within this game.
Doing that Nintendo thing where like
absolutely
everything that you explore it rewards you, even if it's like with a few coins or completely
this is
level.
the closest PlayStation will ever get to a Nintendo game.
That's high praise.
And I think that's fantastic. I think that's really good. And I think this is to almost be celebrated much more than, you know, the biggest AAA game PlayStation. I mean, this is to be celebrated more than The Last of Us 2, ultimately. Because it's a hugely accessible game that's done incredibly well by a much smaller team. That, you know, it's still a PlayStation studio, but a smaller team producing something like this that leans into that PlayStation history, but gives you that endorphin hit fucking all the time, like constant.
Sounds really good. It sounds really good.
It is really good.
I don't know when or if I'll play it, but it sounds fantastic. Like if I was to, let's be clear, I'm not going to buy a PlayStation for this, but if I was to buy a PlayStation, it would be because of a game like this, you know. Yeah, it sounds really good. Like as you say, testament to it that it's being compared to like a Nintendo platformer, because you know those are just. I mean, you can't get any better, can you?
Absolutely.
Terms of, look like made for all ages. You know, I think this has the added benefit of that. Yes, it's very nostalgic and it's calling back, and it gives people who have that history with PlayStation a reason to get it, and like it's accessible for kids, and yeah, sounds really good. Put it on PC. I don't think they will, but it's just like maybe put it on PC.
Well,
maybe
there's a few mechanics. I don't know how they get around it. There's a few mechanics in the game where you're using like again they make absolute use of all the functionality of the DualSense control pad, right? So you're pulling the triggers to certain sort of things, and you're getting that vibration function from it because of the pressure that you're putting on the triggers. There's parts where we have to blow into the gamepad to spin pinwheels. Ultimately, you're spinning a pinwheel and you're blowing stuff away.
Can I not
kind of thing.
blow into the air vents of my Steam Deck?
Your Steam Deck just like instantly just take the cartridge out and blow it, and it's like, yep, great, you've cleared this space, fine.
But you'd think, like, as an endorsement for PlayStation, you'd put this on another platform to be like,
absolutely,
look at all the cool things that we
but the whole point is that like, only the PlayStation can run such an amazing. Look at the ray tracing, or something.
Well, with the PS5 Pro,
yeah,
Astro Bot will look exactly the fucking same.
No, it'll have 30% more gleam.
Just a shine,
is it not
a
like,
little shine to it.
Is it not upgraded with the?
I don't think it's one of the upgraded games. I don't think it is.
Oh,
it's not in the list. It's not in the list. There's a list of games which are upgraded on the Pro.
Oh, geez, so it's not like
they would have been
looks better.
Like,
no, because
no.
You
I don't actually know what the benefits are of the PS5 Pro. I just thought it was £700 and laughed.
More memory. Basically,
so more memory, and so it should be better at hitting 60 frames more consistently on games that are RAM crunched. And it has better ray tracing /
yes.
Some of the ray tracing it does is the ray tracing improvements, from what I understand, would need engine differences, because it's not just adding more RAM doesn't make your thing be better at ray tracing. You have to code the new ray tracing,
which is why there's updates for games.
Yes,
ultimately.
But that also means that that's why I was making the joke about Shiny. Actually, older games that don't have the updates literally can't look different. They will just have more frames.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking, surely it would only be a frame rate thing, because I imagine probably most games now probably run at 60 on PS5s, the first party ones, I'd imagine.
I think it's the difference between average 60 or consistent 60 is
But you can switch between different modes, right? So there's fidelity mode and performance mode. Performance runs at 60 frames a second, but at a lower graphical output, and fidelity runs at a higher graphical output and 30 frames. And the PS5 Pro is basically saying you can have both of these things. You can have 60 frames per second and the highest graphical quality possible that we can achieve on PlayStation, basically.
It just feels like that was the promise for the PS5.
For the PS5.
The Xbox
absolutely,
Series,
absolutely.
Like, we're 4 years in, and
this
is the promise of the way more expensive console. A much bigger bump than... And yes, not that I endorse it, but it's like you understand why it's expensive, but still, it's just like... This is the promise that should have been there like 3-4 years ago.
This
what makes me laugh is the 8K on the PS5 was promising.
They took it off. They took it off the box. The PS5 boxes do not say 8K anymore. They took it off.
It doesn't say what? Sorry?
8K.
Really?
So when PS5 came out, on the box it said it can run in 8K, and they have
removed it. Did they get the Tipex out on the ones that already shipped?
just Wilmot working through the fucking warehouse, just Tipexing out every little fucking box before he shipped it off to be delivered. That's
not
extra
paying
work.
You overtime, but
he still has to absolutely deliver the same amount of things. Good. What a lovely place for us to round out the
Astro Bot
episode.
sounds cool, but everything else is a joke. Just like, what's going on? Celebrate your history, Sony, but that is completely with the developers and the great games they've put out. And
very much.
I don't know
very
what
much.
you lot are doing recently. So
in the Discord, did you say it was 30 years of PlayStation coming up?
Yeah.
2024. It might have already happened.
Or 2025.
I forget it was out in '94 in Japan.
Oh, because it was Japan. Yes. Yeah.
But that still doesn't seem right. How could it be 30 years?
PlayStation 1, September 9th, 1995. So we just hit 29.
Okay. Was that in Japan? Or was that worldwide?
I swear Japan was 94.
Oh, I mean, this is an IGN article.
Because I saw 30 years.
Oh, yeah, no, so, yeah, you're right, because it's North America 1995, September.
Yeah, it's just insane to me. And what, some good years, man. Like, my favourite console was always PlayStation 2.
It released
1994
in
December.
Japan on the 3rd of December 1994. So it was 94, but like
yeah, but we're coming. That means we're coming up to the 30, right?
Yeah, so in December it'll be 30 years. Yeah.
But they're still like the new kids on the block to me. It's like, oh yeah, but you're not Sega or Nintendo.
Yeah. I like how you're mentioning Sega as if they've lasted.
They have, in my heart.
Yeah.
Maybe just in my heart. Old Sega, not whatever we see now. Or for the last 20 years. But
So Xbox, the first Xbox was released
they're the
in
new kids.
November
2001.
15th, 2001, yeah.
Yeah, they're the new kids on the block. They were like, Microsoft are getting into this?
Mm.
Yeah, what a good 30 years. Well, for the most part. There have been some, like any company, some down years.
I'm glad we're talking about the
on the
companies and not the state of the world for the last fucking
Oh no,
30
yeah,
years.
just Sony's output. Like, I mean, yeah, like, other than Nintendo, they're there, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. And I think it's kind of one of those where whatever console generation it was, where we had the SNES and the Mega Drive, and then there's the jump into discs and PlayStation appear, and whether that was that the prototype they made with Nintendo, the prototype they made with like someone like Panasonic or something like that as well. That you still had Sega kind of being like, actually, we're going to release the fucking Dreamcast and
Saturn.
the Saturn and the Dreamcast, and they're like, we have online elements to some of these things. We've now moved to discs. We've done these kinds of things. Sega's still hitting those kinds of innovations, but just not hitting the market with them necessarily.
And that was a whole thing about leadership and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, Sony could have just like wilted on the vine and never been a thing after they split with Nintendo and stuff like that. And thank God they didn't, because like some of my best memories are just with PlayStation games. Even up to like the PlayStation 4. Yeah, I'd love to, but I can't be bothered. Like I don't have a Nintendo system. I don't have a PlayStation system. It's not solely because of it's not all on PlayStation. I don't have a Nintendo system at the moment. I'll get round to it all. It's the hope.
There's so many games, Lucy.
I'd love to play that Zelda game that's coming out soon, but
only like 2 weeks or something, isn't it? Like yeah.
That's the thing. Games will come and they'll go, and there'll be something better by the time you have the next console or come back to it. You know, like Astro Bot's what's it called? The one that came out. Astro.
The recent one is just called Astro Bot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Astro Bot 2 will be there in 4 years. You know, and then they'll really get into the deep cuts.
Well, so what I find interesting is that they're leaning into stuff, right? So you out of the bots that you unlock, like Kratos, Nathan Drake, and I would imagine Aloy for the last one are like the main like bots. They're the kind of level themed kind of bots,
right?
Yeah, no, I don't want that. That's too modern. I want either Kratos in his whorehouse as like the boss, or like I don't know.
Instantly takes it out of family friendly, but you have so some of the bots are so I unlocked like Delson and
the
Fetch
infamous
from
guy.
Infamous, and
would
who's,
never have
who's
caught
the
that.
original Infamous fucking character called? I can't remember his name. Cole. You unlock those as Astro Bots, but they are unlocked in like an extra level, basically. So they're kind of being like, here are some PlayStation franchises that people will absolutely love. Like what the fuck ever his name is from fucking Days Gone, the biker guy. You know, he's in it. But they lean into, so you can unlock the cat from Stray. You can unlock the chibi, the Shibu Itza fucking dog from Tokyo Jungle.
Oh, nice.
There's the character from Res Infinite. There's
When can I play as like Method Man from like Def Jam?
That's number 2. That's when they reach out to fucking third party entirely.
That's
just
the
like,
one I want to play.
50 Cent from Blood on the Sand is just fucking like topless, just like a little Astro Bot fucking bowling around. Like all he does is, so with Astro Bot as well, there is a like a I don't know what you call them. Like a machine, like an egg machine, right? Where you pull the lever and an egg comes out and you break the capsule kind of thing.
Yeah.
And what that does is it will unlock a scene for the character. So the Astrobot that you've unlocked will just live on the hub world and just stand there. But once you've unlocked the scene, it will then do the thing that the scene allows it to kind of do, right? And actually, they don't just stand there. They have like a mini animation, but then they have like their full animation when you've unlocked the scene. And you can see 50 Cent at some point in Astrobot, maybe Astrobot 4 or something, just like being shot and then just fucking just like flexing and all the bullets just fall out of him or something like that. You know, we're getting into the fucking weeds potentially with Astrobot 4, but this is the thing. There's so many PlayStation games, right? And there's so many big fucking franchises. So many big franchises. Like Metal Gear didn't start on PlayStation, but is known for being a PlayStation game.
It's so cool that they've got so many third parties in there.
Yeah, I think that really makes it a. I think that's what seals the like nostalgia hit thing, because obviously, if you weren't a full-on PlayStation fan person, you might not have played all the first-party games and only the first-party games, but like having the other exclusives and stuff that may have touched other consoles at some point just means that it's more likely that you'll get those nostalgia dopamine hits regardless of when you join the quote-unquote PlayStation family. God, I sound like PR. I hate it already. Sorry.
God damn you. Yeah. Because I imagine like Crash Bandicoot's in it.
Yes.
And that's owned
and
by,
Spyro.
like, Xbox now.
Yeah.
Good. That's how it should be.
Any Squeenix garbage?
Say that again.
Squeenix.
No.
That's
Really?
wild.
This is the thing. There's no Square Enix characters. There's no Final Fantasy 7, 8, or 9. Console exclusive games.
It would
for
be Square Enix.
15 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, to me,
Like,
that was...
and they're happy with exclusive. Every Final Fantasy game always comes to PlayStation
Sony,
first anyway.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I think, is it 13 that came out on Xbox as well?
Yes, 13 2.
Is that like the first Final Fantasy game on Xbox?
I know they retroactively put.
Yeah, I think it was the first release.
On there, but possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're
So
not,
it's a PlayStation title. No, they're not. It's a notable.
They're probably
exception.
waiting for that DLC drop, because that's what Square Enix would do. They'd be like, "Oh, play as a Chocobo in this £50 add-on for Astro Bot," and PlayStation are just looking like, "Well, that's all we could barter with them."
Yeah.
Don't blame us. Hands in the air. Look at them. It's a trash fire over there. Wasn't it? Well,
I mean,
trash fire over here. But
I mean, they
look at
probably
them.
just said, we'll put it in your game, but it needs to be an NFT.
Exactly. Well, I mean, Astrobot is pure NFTs, right? Astrobot is exactly that.
Yeah.
Like each individual Astrobot has their own fucking thing, and if they could be slightly different in their animation per user, then it would absolutely be.
Oh,
an
they don't even have to be
NFT.
different. They just have to. You just can't trade them somehow.
Sure, it's got a code.
Yeah.
Yours is number 12. No one else's is number 12.
At least
But
they
if you want to
sold all
sell
their
it to
good
someone,
IP like Hitman and Tomb Raider. So yeah.
so
I mean,
I
saying
haven't
there's no
seen-
Final Fantasy in it is actually making me want to play it more.
Yeah.
There's no. I haven't had Agent 47 yet, but I've just hit a Lara.
Oh,
Croft,
good. I was going to wonder. You
Astro
hadn't
Bot,
mentioned
so,
Tomb Raider. I was like, there must be Tomb Raider in this, otherwise.
Absolutely, there is. And interestingly,
No Screen X 10X.
a bunch of the old Tomb Raider games have just come onto the PlayStation Premium tier because there's a quest on the PlayStation Stars thing to basically play one of the. I don't know.
That trilogy
I can't
that
remember.
came out.
I can't remember what it is. The PlayStation Stars quest was like, play one of these Tomb Raider games. And I'm like,
Because
I will...
those remasters that I played, did that come out this year? Or was it last year? Those were good.
Oh, I don't know.
They were very good, faithful, but doing the right quality of life and tweaks, kind of remasters. So yeah, I wonder if it's that.
So the quest to get you 50 points, which is like up 2 pence or something, on the PlayStation Stars thing, is play one of these games on the PlayStation Plus game catalog. Play any of these classic Lara Croft adventures, but it's not the classic adventures. It's Tomb Raider Legend, Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, which is probably the first game, maybe, but Rise of the Tomb Raider 20-year celebration and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So you can play some of the original-ish kind of games,
play
and then
every
some
one
of the
of them, or
modern
just-
things. No, you got to play one of them. Basically.
Oh, that's not bad.
But you don't even have to play them. It's the same as the Microsoft ones, right?
You just start
Where
them.
Just launch it quickly.
and because I've got premium, I can just stream these games.
Oh, you don't have to install them.
So I don't even have to install them. So I can be like, cool, stream, Tomb Raider Legends. And as soon as that boots, it pings on my app, and I get the 50 points. I'm like, cool, delete, like, just leave and play something else, kind of thing.
To be fair, I mean, they don't do. I mean, I think Xbox figured that out, that people are just launching them and then closing them.
Yeah.
So I think they had a little overall, maybe last year, the achievement points. But anyway, like, there was some times where it was like, oh, there's an achievement in this game, and I kept playing it, like that Super Lucky's Tale or something like that.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It was like, and it was like I had a good time with that game, and that was from just get an achievement. So there is some conversion rate, it's probably very small, probably like under 10%, but people.
Yeah, some of it
is a
will
way
lead
to
some
introduce
sales.
people into the
Absolutely.
different games.
Yeah. Completely. Cool. Let's finish there for this week.
All hail PlayStation. Good on 30 years. To another 30.
Jesus, we'll be
Be a
dead
bit-
by then, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
They've
But
gone
they'll
through
still-
another bunch of
hopefully they'll-
executives who have been either really amazing or incredibly shit.
Yeah, there's no in between. It's
there's no-
crazy.
No.
Can't we just have like middle of the road? kind of, Sony
Like someone who's
president.
just like, yeah, you're right, I am a corporate guy, but we're going to do these cool things, but also we have to make a profit, so we're going to balance the books in this kind of way. Rather than being like, everything is for the players versus everything is for the shareholders. Like,
Yeah, one of them's telling the truth.
True. Yeah. I mean, we love our Jack Trenton.
Jack Trenton,
Like that.
Sean Layden,
Yeah.
amazing,
Sean Layden,
amazing
yeah.
fucking PlayStation
Yeah, I really like that.
execs. Like, yeah. Cool. So
Who's
let's
the
just.
president now?
Some guy.
Jim Ryan left.
He did. It's I can't remember who it is.
It's not Herman
It's
Hulst,
shared.
is it? He
It's a
didn't
shared
move on,
job
did
at
he?
the moment, between a couple of people. I think, maybe.
It's Parappa the Rapper.
Um,
Can you imagine? That would be a cool company. The amount of stuff that would come out of that. Yeah.
Does anyone have any comments on the beers that they have drank this evening that they would like to finish out on?
Alcohol free didn't hit for me. Not just because it's alcohol free, but because it had that weird artificial sweet finish. Yeah, the Bolster's blood, just complete opposite. Like I still got like half a can.
Oh, wow.
Just because
Wow.
it has such
So
a
good taste.
bitter finish. Yeah, and it's like this is so bitter. I don't feel compelled to like keep sipping. It's just bitter for days. So it's like very happy, very very content with this beer. And if I see them around, is it Rochdale? This is Manchester. Well, Greater Manchester. Well,
was it Brid's cross?
The I has a like a cute accent on it.
Right. So Bride's cross, maybe?
Yes, I was trying to get up like Google pronunciation, but my computer's just absolutely dead. It's got Chinook, Simcoe, and Galena hops. Yeah. Well, I'll look at this door. But yeah, maybe the brewers are from Rochdale. Maybe they brew in Manchester, and let's go raid them. Yeah, go raid them in October.
Yeah. Nice. Aadil, have you got any comments
I will say that
beer?
if I were you and you wanted to try this Gateau, I wouldn't have the last couple sips. There's just like a bit of a, because it's the like thick. You can see like it's just the tendrils of this random thick head. It just actually felt kind of slimy. That looks like someone
vomited in the glass.
Yeah, and so the rest was great. I drank it much quicker than the previous one. But those last sips, for whatever reason, just felt a bit slimy and almost stringy at one point. Just like caught in my mouth in a really unappetizing way, which sucked because that was the last thing I had. Other than that, I think this Stoopid Black Forest Gateau is actually it's turned a corner for me. Like I think they like I said, it really feels more beery than these have traditionally, and I like that a lot. It just has a bit of bitterness, and like I said, that tartness is, even though it's not super tart, right? Like again, they're rating it a 1. It's the fact that it's prevalent and it's doing that tartness isn't just sort of part of the taste they're trying to replicate. It's just making it taste like a sour beer that tastes like Black Forest Gateau. And then again, but they've retained their skill at the nose smells exactly like the fucking dessert. And so I think that's a neat balance, and I hope that this is a signal that this is where they're going, because unlike Lucy, one of the local craft beer places usually has Vault City on tap. So I've had a bunch over the past couple years. Also, Jesus Christ, I've lived here for 2 years, as of October 1st.
No.
Yeah, I moved 2 years ago. Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
You've been there a year. Shut up.
Yeah.
You're crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, so I've had quite a few Vault Cities, and again, it's often it's better on draft than in can, and there's like often it's like what a wild thing. I'm glad I tasted this. I don't think I'll have a second one. And if this is the trend, I may end up having more than one of the same in a night, because this is kind of for me the happy medium of these sort of tastes like sours.
You haven't lived there for 2 years.
And then the other one, the lager was fine. Yeah. Yeah, I have nothing else to add about the lager. It was an interesting lager. I liked how malty it was. I liked that it was a bit sweeter than expected. Definitely not what I would reach for if I was looking for a lager, but it was, now knowing what the style was like, it hit really well. It would be really good on a earlier in a warmer day, when I wanted something that was still kind of beery but easy to drink, versus like just easy to drink, as a lot of lagers are.
Yeah.
You're a northerner now. I mean, you always were.
Yeah.
Nice. To round us out, both good beers, both nice beers. I think the takeaway for me is that just the Left-Handed Giant and the Queer Brewing beer was just so incredibly soft. Like it just the quality of the beer was just next level. Like it's soft, it's smooth, it's doing a lot with its flavour, in terms of saying we have these flavours within it, and I'm drinking it like I can't pick these out. It's so incredibly well balanced between those flavours that I can't pick something over something else, essentially. So it's hard for me to tell what flavours there are within this, because it's an amalgamation of these flavours, and it's really nice as a bit. The James and the Giant Nectoron is a good example of a kind of an in-between DIPA, a bit of a fruity hit, but then that modern kind of earthy note, that slightly sour kind of element sort of to it. So I think this week, good beers all around, ultimately. And good games. Yeah. So, if anyone has been playing any of these games, or has any games to recommend to us, at Tanks Upcast on all of the socials, you can go to outoflives.net to see our faces, see the beers that we've been drinking as well, and read other articles from other people. Not just random people, other people that contribute, obviously, to Out of Lives. For game reviews and shit like that. Yeah, I can't be bothered. Thanks. Bye.
What? I was looking at Fantasy Map Simulator.
Oh yeah, play Fantasy Map Simulator. It's very good. It's very good.
I believe here's where I'm supposed to say ciao.
Bye.
www.outoflives.net